Hello everyone. Thank you for coming out on such a miserable night, but then it's February, so I guess that's par for the course. I hope I come back next year and we talk about the 3-day week, because that'll be great, wouldn't it? But we'll see. It is a bit of a journey, this, so I'd like to try and describe it in a way that it sort of happened along the way, and because it was a bit like that. There was an idea we had and thought, let's try and implement it and open it up to everyone, so there was plenty of transparency. Everybody was involved in the process, and it's been quite a year, really. I mean, it only came out last May. I mean, we started the trial back in January of last year, and then the local press picked up on it, and then it just escalated, as you'll see as we go through, which that's one of the unintended consequences, really. You did it for the right reason. You know, we talk a lot about, as a firm, we should be authentic and innovative and client-centric, but I think we also need to be colleague-centric as well. And as you'll see from some of the slides, the evidence is there that it does work. There are drawbacks, and you know, I'm not going to stand here and sugarcoat it and say it's that universal panacea that solves everything. It certainly doesn't, and we've had our trials and tribulations with it. But in the main, it's been a very, very good journey, and one I'm certainly committed to. So as long as they keep me at the firm, we'll be on this path, you know. If they want to remove me anytime soon, well, you know, that's another discussion. You will recognise my colleagues in the room that have come up today, because, you know, we can't run a business without great people. And as trite as it sounds, and you'll hear lots of people talk in those terms, they don't actually believe it. They don't actually... they think it's the right thing to say, don't they? They think, you know, my colleagues are the best thing about the firm and all the rest of it. I passionately believe that is the case. You know, I've not always had a great team. I've made lots of mistakes along the way. I saw something on Facebook the other week about success comes from a pile of mistakes, and that's where we've come from as a business. We've run it for 32 years, so there's lots of peaks and troughs along the way. But you get to a point where you've got a team of colleagues around you, and I'm not saying it because they're just in the room. I'm saying it because I mean it. They inspire me and they drive me on, and they challenge me as well. You know, it doesn't always go down well, but it's important that you have ears that are wide open and you're open to any thoughts, because you know, why be in an environment where it's just a closed shop and nobody can talk? So we are now called the global pioneers of the 4-day week. Apparently, we were the first firm in the world. And several sources have told us this because they've researched it. You know how good universities are with research, so you know, we've had it from good sources. That we were the first firm in the world to actually introduce the 4-day week and reduce the hours, because that's the key thing here. And also, we put their salaries up. I mean, I'd work for me, without a shadow of a doubt, you know, if that's what was on offer. So we were very proud of that, and that's what then went all around the world like wildfire. We had things in the press from the India Today, India Times, LA Times, Australian Lawyer. It just went everywhere, and it shows the power of the internet as well, doesn't it? I think we're all aware of that, but that brings its own challenges, as we'll cover off as we go along. You will recognise my colleagues, by the way, if you would like to talk to them afterwards. And I brought them up because I feel it's not just listening to me, it's listening to their experience of what they've been through and the pros and cons of it as well. You'll recognise them because they've got a little silver foundation badge, which is our charity. And but you'll also recognise them because they're the ones who look really chilled out with cocktails. So, you know, because 4-day week, that's what it does to you. These are my credentials, as it were, you know, as a young man starting a business at 23 back in the day, and it's been quite a journey. I still love it every day of the week. I've just spoken outside to Camilla, and you know, one of the questions she said to me was, you know, what gets you up in the morning? And it's that passion for work. It's not just I live for work, because I don't, you know, I live to live, but I still enjoy the work I do. And I think anybody in their career, whatever it is, you know, you should aspire to the highest standard, shouldn't you, and reach as far as you can. And hopefully I've done that as an individual, and I'm very proud of some of those achievements and proud of what the firm's achieved as well. So, work is broke. There's no question about that. All the research shows that the way we now work doesn't work. And whilst productivity, as you see on this graph, has skyrocketed for the last few decades, the way we work hasn't. We're still largely a 9-to-5 society. There's shift patterns out there. There's obviously night shifts and all the rest of it. But no one has really tackled how do we work and how do we live. I think people are viewed sometimes as slightly off-piste when they start talking about we should work less, and it can work for companies and society. They're treated as a bit maverick or a bit different. There's nothing wrong with being a maverick or a bit different as long as you can back it up with actions that then improve people's lives. And as small a firm as we are, and we're only a micro firm down in Plymouth, we care about the people we have in our company, we care about, obviously, their families and our family, and we care about our clients and their outcomes for their families. But it needs to be challenged, and it needs to start somewhere. So if it can start with a little firm down in Plymouth, and almost the back of beyond, if you're in London, it's like, no one's down here. We haven't got a train line anymore, have we, down to Plymouth? Not this time of year, anyway. But it's something that needs addressing right now. So, we live in a climate. I knew you'd like that slide. I knew it. I just knew it. We live in an age where things are volatile. Should we say that? We've got this nonsense we've just been through, and whether you're for or against or whatever, we've got to get on with it now. We've got this very sad situation in the world that needs, God knows how it's going to be addressed, but we pray for those people over there that have the issues. We've got the environmental issues. We've got this going on. I spoke to a client who's very religious recently, and they said, this is the apocalypse time, this is what's going on, and whether that's true or not, we know we've got lots of challenges ahead of us. And one of the challenges that hasn't been addressed in life is work. It's still the same pattern. I'll keep coming back to this because we can't just talk, we need to do something about it. A gentleman who, to me, when I was 19, was really old. He was 35, and I was on I had a student job for an organisation called the Sutton Trust, and they provide housing for, back in the century before the last, for poor people. It's for people coming out of poor houses, people who didn't have much income. And there were a couple of estates in Plymouth, and as a student, first time round, I would do summer gardening, and I would work with this guy. I worked with him for 2 years running, and every year he kept saying to me, what are you going to do with your career? What are you going to do? Do you know what you want to do? And I said, no, I don't really. I just want to work for myself. And the best bit of advice, and I said it to my colleague Andy today, when I go to the grave, if somebody says to you, what's the best bit of advice you ever had? It was this one. And he kept saying, never pick a job, pick your boss, because your boss is everything. Because if he or she is the person that can be the right sort of mentor, the right sort of person who will show you right and wrong, call you out when you need to, but is there to put an arm around your shoulder at the right time, then that's a great thing, And I thought, who could be the best boss? And the Sun said it was me this year, which was amazing. And I was really thrilled. I thought, if it's in the Sun, it must be true. I know all the academics in this institution read this every day, they get all their stats from it. And I was really proud of that. And I kept threatening the guys last year, they should all have T-shirts with this on, wear it in the office. But I don't think they think that way, but we'll see. And I thought, let's go out and start a business and try and do things differently. And that's how we try and act. So this story then just sort of escalated. Lad Bible, which I generally didn't really know what it was. I'd heard of it, but didn't know what it was. We had 55,000 likes or dislikes or whatever in the first weekend. We had 400 CVs from job seekers from all over the world. And I know I shouldn't say this because we're in a modern world, but, if my face was at the front, nobody would look at this picture very much, would they? Then we had this. It shows the reach. We had a lady in Kenya who wrote this on Facebook. And you think, well, we're touching people in other parts of the world that we wouldn't as a small local law firm. And it's been really, it's been quite an exhilarating journey, if I'm honest. Only on Sunday, and my wife will confirm this, I had an email from an organisation in Nigeria. Mr. Worth, you are an inspiration to so many people around the globe. Could you please come and talk at our conference in Lagos? And I thought, well, yeah, why not? It's great, I'll have to pay my own flights, that's the sad thing. But you think they're connecting with us in a way, not to talk about what we necessarily do for a living, but because we're trying to act and think differently. And it's been a real blessing, to be honest, the last year. It's been a real interesting journey. But again, come back to the main point. The main point is not to be out there looking like $1 million and having a great time. It's because I wanted to do something right for the people that work within our company. We're a team, and we want to improve their quality of life. Because as much as you work hard 5 days a week, how many people go home really frazzled on a Friday night, hit the wine, Chinese takeaway, whatever, that's my life, I suppose, And then all the things they need to do, they end up doing on a Saturday or a Sunday. That cuts into maybe the quality time they could have had with their family, or doing something for themselves, or a side hustle, or something like that. And by introducing a different work pattern, we can allow them the space to do that. So the classic question, you've all read the book, haven't you? You know, start with why. It is about why, because why do any of us do anything in life? You know, is it because we go to work because we need to earn money? That's the case for most of us, definitely. But why do we do the job we do? Sometimes we fall into things that either we like or dislike, and other times we fall into things that really motivate us in a different way, or there's a calling there, you know, whether it's charity work or whether it's something quite inspirational and helping other people in some way. And as a firm, we always talk about the why nots, you know. Don't come to me with why. It's that thing about don't come with problems, come with solutions. And that's how we try and think as a firm. Some of these things are cliched, they're in all the business books, you know, it's fine, but we live it, we actually live it. We don't just talk about it. So the why nots, and one of my colleagues, Morgan, who sat down here, calls it her life admin day. It's not the 4-day week, it's life admin. I think it's a brilliant term. So instead of taking time off during the week to go and, you know, pick up your laundry, go to the dentist, you know, doctor's appointments or whatever, why can't you line all that up on one day, which is more effective for you because you get everything done in one go, it's more productive. It's good for the firm because, you know, you're alongside your colleagues and being more effective in the day. You're not thinking about all these things you've got to do. And for me, it's not about the 4-day week. It's just a label that people put on things. You know, we're all guilty of it at times, aren't we? We like to pigeonhole and put people in certain places and put these labels on things. And it's happened with the 4-day week. I met with the founder of the original 4-day week, as it were, in London last summer, and they were all over us like a rash. They'd never seen a law firm outside of New Zealand do what we'd done, and especially put the salaries up. And so they wanted us to join the party and become advocates for the 4-day week. Well, we're not advocates for it. We've done it. We just got on with it. And they've tried to monetize it and turn it into a business. Well, for me, it's a movement amongst people. It's not a business opportunity. I mean, that may be naive, but I'd rather we just do things our way, because the 4-day week or any day week should be about something bespoke for you as a business owner, or you as an employee, or you as a company. It's got to come from within, and that's why we said right at the beginning, it's important you have dialogue with the people you work with, because ultimately they'll decide whether it works or not. And I just don't like this labelling or badging, and, you know, it's just something we all need to think differently, that's all. So, why would we do it? Well, look at all these challenges. We now live in an environment where there are definitely environmental challenges, there's societal challenges, political challenges, you know, we can just go on and on. There's all sorts of movements out there, but I think for most of us in the room, we've seen the biggest change in the discussion around mental health in the last few years, and rightly so. Mental health is one of those taboo subjects, even as a child, and it was a long time ago, but I can remember, where when you came across people either at school or in your football team or whatever it was, your parents or your elders would always talk about they're not well, and, you know, try and stay away from them and don't give them time. And how sad is that? How sad? We need to be able to allow people to speak up and be open and let others know how they're feeling. And I'll come on to this now, and I have got permission off the person involved. But one of the main motivations to me trying to get this in place is a few years ago, we're big on trying to bring in young people who want to be apprentices and see if we're a good company to work for and it works for them, and let's see where they go. And we took on this apprentice. And she came in as quite as always, young and shy, but a hard worker, and you could see she had potential. And so we, as a team, our colleagues that have been there the longest with me, we looked after her, we encouraged her, all the rest of it, and she grew in confidence. She got better and better and better. And then it got to a point where, and this is where I hold my hands up, we were just overloading her. We thought she was so great, we were just dumping work on her desk and saying, can you get on with it? And I know, you know, back in the day, that's how life is, just suck it up and get on with it. But what we didn't spot, and I certainly didn't spot, was that there was a mental health challenge there, and we didn't really recognise it. And I just felt when she then left the company, that was a loss to me, as a loss to the firm, and certainly a loss to her as well for opportunities. But she felt she wanted to go and do something else. And it was quite a watershed moment for me, because as much as I think everything's happy and we're all singing along on the same page, to have that in front of you and not recognise it well enough, you know, was a massive wake-up call. I'm glad to say she's now back with the firm, because me being me, if somebody says you can't do something, I'll go and do it. And my mission was to get her back. So wherever she went, and she went off and did some other things and got more qualified in another firm, I went headhunting because I thought I want her back. She's got the right qualities, and she's in a good place and back with us now. And I'm really proud we've done that, because it's almost like a full circle thing for us. But that spurred us on to think, how can we do things differently? And what we did was, we put the 4-day week in place, as well as a whole host of other innovations within the firm. But we kept hearing, when we said we were going to do this, these were the things that third parties, whether they're friends, whether they're other business colleagues or their competitors, or even some academics. You know, I spoke to some of my former professors and lecturers here at Exeter, and the sad thing is, with the academics, they were dead against the 4-day week, and I couldn't understand it. And then I realised they only do 2 days anyway. So, you know, we thought, no, I'm joking. No, I'm only joking. I'll take a drink at that point. But I wanted to share our thoughts, and it was interesting to see all the different stakeholders were coming back with things. So we had these sort of comments thrown at us, which, when you look at it in the cold light of day, some of them are hilarious. Why should I? Well, what sort of boss is that? Why should I? Well, why shouldn't you? You know, think differently. We're too big a firm. We can't introduce this because I've got 400 staff and they're all going to kick off. And well, no, they won't actually. If you engage them, even if it's a quorum of people that you can sit down with and say, look, what do you think about this? Can we bring this into being? Do you think it's a good idea? But not to have that discussion is criminal, really. The classic one, we're too small. How can you be too small? You know, we're a small business and we've done it. So you could do it. You've just not got the will to do it, and that's the important thing. Again, Andy, MBA alumnus here tonight, he saw this on television as we were discussing this. Last September, the expert Piers Morgan talked that very morning on, it's not called GMTV anymore, is it? Good Morning Britain, I think. Lazyitis. What the hell is that? It's too expensive for employers. Well, I can see that, because maybe some of the thought process is, well, if you're not in on a Friday, I'm going to have to get someone to fill your space. So maybe they're thinking it's a cost either in salary. Obviously, there's training issues, there's recruitment issues, there's PAYE, all the rest of it. But that's not true. Just be flexible. You can move things around. Society expects this 365, 24/7 approach. Well, as a firm, as I said earlier, we try and approach it in a way that it's not a problem, it's a solution. And the last time I spoke in this room, I was still a student here, you know, and I launched this idea called I Will, and that actually comes to fruition next month, which is amazing. So as well as having a solution that says we work with our clients from 9 in the morning till 8 at night, we've now got something that works 365, which is an online legal service. So it's quite creative and innovative. So we filled that gap. So if you take a problem and turn it into something positive, that's good, isn't it? That's got to be a good thing. Won't it mean my pay decreases? In some firms, yes, it will. But it depends who you work with and who you work for. Some firms have taken the option of, we'll trial this 4-day week, and obviously you're going to lose 20% of your pay. Well, that's really popular, isn't it? You can imagine that one. That went really well. My industry can't do that. Now, that's quite interesting. If you think about, say, doctors and nurses and surgeons, you think about academics, education, you think about the police, well, you can, because a lot of them work on shifts already, don't they? Shift patterns. Again, it's just a way of looking at it in a creative way, not just the walls are up and you can't do things differently. Everyone can do things differently, but it's who's at the top, who's making these decisions, and how can you influence them? That's the key thing here. My staff want to work more hours. Some do. Sometimes it's a financial thing, isn't it? They love the overtime on a Saturday, so why on earth would they then want to take a Friday off to come back in on a Saturday if it affects their pay? Won't I have to work harder? Again, I've seen models around the world, and we've spoken to lots of people in different countries who've tried these things, and some of them have gone about it a really strange way. They're just making people work the same hours, but in 4 days, and I don't know if that's good. You've got people working from 9 till 6 o'clock on a normal 5-day week, and then you're trying to cram in that extra 8 hours over the 4 days. It's not healthy for them. We all know as students, when we've all been sat down listening to lectures, after half an hour, is that just me? It doesn't, you don't quite take it in, it's there, but you're not learning properly. And when you revise, you need to do it in small bite-sized chunks, don't you? It's the same with work. If we're at it 24/7 all the time, where's the quality? Where's the quality of work, and where's the quality of life for you guys? The government will sort it out for us, right? I can't believe a fellow entrepreneur said that to me. The government will sort it out. This is a guy who's created a business. He's done very well. He's great in his community. He gives lots of money away to causes to help people, and he still thinks the government's going to sort this problem out. It's not. They won't legislate, will they? Although there's a slide later on where Labour tried to own this, didn't they, at their last party conference before the election. And I'm not here to talk politics, obviously, But how dare someone try and hijack something and make it theirs? Again, it's a movement. It's each firm and each individual trying to think in a different way and owning it for themselves, not to make either political or business capital out of it. It will disrupt my family schedule. Some mums have actually said this, where they feel if they start having their days moved around, it will throw out their day at the gym, or it will mess up their life. They have lunches on a Thursday, and it's for men as well, not just women. But I don't get that. If you're getting better quality time, you're getting more pay, and you're working in a different way that makes your life outside work better. That's certainly worth having a discussion on. And just a millennial fad. I know we've got some millennials in the room. I'm a millennial myself. We've heard this so much, honestly. All those things listed on there, that's the one that comes up most all. It's just all these mad millennials who think that, they want to be permanently on holiday. This is not me saying it, by the way. This is what I've heard. They want lots of holidays. They want portfolio careers. Nothing wrong with that. They want to do things in a different way. And, I agree with them. You shouldn't work the way that we have for decades now. But older people talk about that's the tail trying to wag the dog. How dare employees or potential employees try and dictate how the firm should run? I think it's a good thing to open it up and let people have input. So it's not a millennial thing. It's a people thing, isn't it, at the end of the day? What we do for a living, by the way, is we're a succession and inheritance planning law firm. We specialise in looking after people on that journey through life and hopefully passing on what they want to their loved ones ultimately, or not paying the government too much in tax, because they've done proper planning, and to support charities as well in terms of gifting assets to them. And I read this about 10 years ago, and it's important to know the context of this because there's a lady who is based in Australia called Bronnie Ware, and she was a palliative care nurse, and she decided over the period of her working with mainly gentlemen, not ladies, at the end of their lives, in the few months that they had left, she would obviously spend lots of time with them, and they had lots of lovely discussions, as she said, and these were the 5 things that men most commonly say. Now, we won't go through all of them. I get them. I understand them now as I'm getting older. But 10 years ago, I decided that point 2 wasn't going to happen to me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. That doesn't mean I don't work hard, because I do. But I work smart, and I do it in a way that suits me and my life and my family's life. And at that point, 10 years ago, we just had, quite late in life for me, two young children who sat at the front now. And I just thought, all the people I know in business that have had their children and they've gone out and worked really hard and built their businesses up, they didn't spend any time with their kids, and that's their biggest regret now. They did work hard and they provided for the family, all these things. And I thought, well, can we do that in a different way? And when I read Bronnie's book, and there was quite a big section on this, it really touched me. And I thought, I don't want that for me and my children, and I don't want that for anybody else's children. Why should they be giving their life and soul to a company that at the drop of a hat would bin them at some point in the future if they hit hard times? I just feel we had to do it differently, and that's what I've done. Most evenings I'm home, and that's been the way for 10 years. The 20 years before that, totally different. I was all over the place, sort of trying to live the dream and build the business, but as you know, those of you with children in the audience know, it does change things, and I was fortunate to be in a position to try and take control of it. And obviously I had the support of my wife, which was really important. And then I decided to go and do an MBA, and hence why we're here today. There's this big journey. But it's about these, as Steve Jobs used to say, it's you can only join the dots looking backwards, and you do things and go places and things happen. But we are in control of our destiny, really. I know people argue it's out there and the stars are aligned and all the rest of it, but we do make our own fortune in life, don't we, in our own situations. And when I read this, I thought, that's the decision I'm making. I want to be an at-home dad. Of course, I'll be a good example by going to work every day, but also I'll be around for my family for important things. And this video, this is from 2011. So again, it's all about 10 years ago. It's all around that time. I was just sat there watching it at home one night, and this advert came up for Thompson Holidays, and it just really resonated with me. So wherever I go now, and I talk to people about business, entrepreneurship, innovation, whatever it is, I think this is important, because why are we all working? Why are we all on this planet? And we need to do things with people that are important to us. So I'm just going to play it for 2 minutes, if you don't mind. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you take something from it. But not a holiday, okay?
Time. So much to answer for. Never enough hours in the day. Not enough days in the week. Everyone wants a little piece of you. It's time you stopped, switched off, forgot about time. Put down your phone and hold your loved one's hand. Nice, isn't it? Those close to you, share with them a week or two, and they'll cherish it forever. The time you spend on holiday, the time when nothing matters, when there's just you, the sky, the sea, and the people who mean everything in the world to you. Holidays are the most precious time of all. Let this be a lesson.
Great quote here, and we lose sight of it sometimes. Do people want a job, or do they want a life? I think they want a life. The job is part of what they do. You hear lots of people talk about how they are defined by what they do for a living. We look at people, whether a police officer or a lecturer, and we think about them in a certain way, but it's about life and the contributions you make to other people's lives. That's most important. And I just felt this quote sort of sums it up. It's like with our clients, what do clients want from us? They don't want a will or a trust or a power of attorney. They want a solution and a peace of mind situation. So we talk about that, not about what products we've got or services. It's about what we can do for them and how they feel. And I feel that way towards our colleagues as well. We need to give them the space to, hopefully feel fulfilled and motivated and also relaxed as well, because we all perform better when we're relaxed, I think. Some of the criticism I had from friends about you are mad to go and try and do something different. Just stay on the path you're on. It's good. It works. Why do you want to change? And one of the allegations made at us was, how on earth are you going to monetize this? Well, I think they missed the point. It wasn't about monetizing anything. It was about doing the right thing and making our colleagues feel good about themselves, and they've got a space for their family and all the rest of it. And we got referred a client from an introducer of ours who said, can you try and get hold of this lady? And she's always very busy. She's a film director. She's always out on location. And my colleague Mags tried to get hold of her a lot. And in the end, we got hold of her. And the outcome was, apparently she was quite a challenging lady to try and get on board as a client. But we persevered. And one of the lines she came up with me when I spoke to her was about, if you're that firm I've just read about in the paper, in terms of the 4-day week, then if you treat your staff that well, you must treat your clients that well. And all of a sudden, it was like a eureka moment. Somebody has actually seen this and thought, we must be a good firm that's authentic and we try to do the right thing. And they're just going to pick us because of that. Well, that's amazing, really, because most times people either pick you out because, they like your website or your credentials or your experience. But this was just based on a 4-day week story. And if anything, that drove us on even more, because we thought, well, if it is viewed by the general public in that way, we need to keep on this path and then try and get as many people on board with us as possible as advocates to try and do something different in their firm, and not necessarily the 4-day week, something different. The environmental impact is the benefit of not having a 5-day week, traditional working week, is huge for the environment. In this university, we're big on, how does it impact on the environment? And all these reports, all these quotes from, eminent experts in the field, it just shows if we change, lots of things can change along the way. Again, Harvard, they're talking about employee sickness goes down. Of course it would. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? If you don't feel so stressed at work, you don't need to take more time off. Look at the recruitment, because for me, this wasn't about just all those things I've talked about. I knew it would be a great recruitment tool, as the 400 CVs proved, and it would be a great retention tool. You get great people, you keep them, don't you? You try and keep them in the family and make sure that all the time and investment that's gone into them along the way stays within the firm. And productivity is the key factor in the 4-day week. Again, lots of reports and research out there states that the 4-day week is a nice to have, but if what can be done in 4 days, you normally do in 5, why wouldn't you bring it in if there are no additional costs or other factors? And we've had challenges. It's not all been perfect. Like I said, I won't sugarcoat it. It's not that panacea. There are challenges along the way. This is the first one. Colleagues' collaboration time. They tell me this, and we had a big discussion about this last week. It doesn't work sometimes, because if you traditionally all in together 5 days a week, and then all of a sudden somebody has Wednesday off every week and the other person has a Thursday off, you're not seeing them 2 days a week. And sometimes it's difficult to transfer conversations or projects that need to be done. And that's been a challenge. Again, in a small firm, we try and spin all the plates as best we can to try and make this work. But that's challenge number one. Second one's bank holidays. My favourite, isn't it, Mags? My favourite this. Mags is our employment lawyer, and I always have fun with them. They're always very entertaining, Sorry. I come up with these ideas, and then Mags always tells me I can't do it, which is always a problem. But this thing about bank holidays was, in my world, I thought, well, if somebody's doing a 4-day week and there's a bank holiday, why can't they just take the Monday off, because they're entitled to that, that's the bank holiday, and then they do the other 4 days of the week? No, you can't do that, because in employment law, they're entitled to that day off on the Monday. And we're a 4-day week company, so technically they need the other day off somewhere else in the week, don't they? So they could have the Monday off and the Friday off, and they do the 3 days in between. It still frustrates me. I don't know how I'm going to change it, but it's been a challenge, I thought when I was away before Christmas, I had this brilliant solution, and I came back on the first day back, sat down with them all, guys, I've got this great idea, don't laugh. And do you know, 2 of them actually turned around and said they didn't know what the hell I was talking about, Which, it's not great, is it, for your self-esteem? Perception from stakeholders. The first thing that happened with clients is, well, if you're this 4-day week company, you're not there for me, are you? I need you all the time. And we had one gentleman, particularly from Stoke-on-Trent, who would call us every week and ask the same question. How can I get hold of you on a Friday if you're not open? Well, we are open, aren't we? It's just the colleagues in the firm work at different times. We did the experiment last year from January the 1st to March the 31st, where we did actually shut on a Friday, because I wanted to see how that impacted the firm. You can't measure what you can't see, and so we don't know how much business we lost on Fridays being closed. We've got a retail space, a law store, people walk in and give us business, people call in. We couldn't really measure it, and I just got to the end of that period and thought, well, the 4-day work week is good, but I think as a retail space, we need to be open 5 days. So that's why we then went back to 5 days. So from clients' perspective, we are there for them whenever. Nothing changes. But also partners we have in other professional firms, some of them are not sure about referring to us, because if we're not that committed to looking after their clients, because we have all these holidays, then why should they use us? Logistics of annual leave and cover, that's a real problem, I guess, in any size firm, but for a small firm, it's very, very difficult because you've already got the situation of someone having their 2 weeks annual leave off in the summer, and then you've got all the other colleagues doing 1 day less a week. Trying to juggle that all around as well and make that work is a real challenge. We get there because we've got a great team who try and move things around, but it's been a headache. It's not straightforward. It's not easy. It's just, again, people collaborating, I guess, and just talking openly about what they need to do and how can we make that work. And again, it's having that positive mindset to make it work rather than be an obstacle. We get the wrong type of applicant. You imagine, oh, you're that 4-day week guy. Great, yeah, it's great. They used to say, you're that bald guy, or you're that guy who runs this law firm, or you're the guy who did it. No, it's the 4-day week guy. And we get applications wherever we go, and the team will tell you, whenever we're out, if we go out for an event or we go and have a meal somewhere, the waitresses, they all say, oh yeah, we'd love to join your company, it must be great, only doing 4 days a week. We're getting the wrong type of people because all they want is the 4-day week. They're not on about our vision, our values, all the things that are important to us. And that makes it difficult because we have to say no to a lot of people because they've got to fit in. The old Drucker quote about culture eats strategy for breakfast, absolutely true, isn't it? You could have the best ideas ready to execute, but you haven't got the right culture to do it in, it's never going to work. And so we need to bring in the right people. And that's always the biggest challenge, trying to recruit that next person who can add value to the company and also have a great career for themselves. We have too many applicants, like I said, 400 a week. Can you imagine the resource that takes up, trying to look through every CV? Half of them, to be fair, were from all over the globe. People looking for an opportunity in the UK wouldn't work. But we had some really interesting ones from firms, people who work in senior positions in some big firms that would eat us up in size. But to think that they were even considering looking at us as a company was really reassuring. I'm not sure if it was, because we're good or whether it's the 4-day week. And Fridays. What can I say about Fridays, really? I think it can become a problem because most people you would assume would want Fridays off. Why wouldn't you, You work Monday to Thursday. Fridays is that great day. You can just do what you want. And then it rolls into Saturday and Sunday, that long weekend. And if you're really smart, you can also turn it into a really long weekend, can't you? Because you start alternating then. You start saying, well, 1 week I'll have Friday off, the next week I'll have a Monday off. So you get 4 days off. Again, in a small team, it's difficult to do at times because, we're quite stretched trying to cover the offices, cover the appointments, meetings with partners. It's very difficult. But we've tended to move to a different model now where each colleague picks a day that suits them best. I do a Wednesday, for example. What day is it today? It's Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah. See, I'm still working, But, and I'm a bit of a hypocrite, really. I've only just started doing the 4-day week, haven't I? I mean, most of the guys do it, but I think sometimes there's so much to do. I'll just come in, I'll sneak in the back and carry on doing stuff. But I've tried to take Wednesdays off more than I have before. So again, it's moving the diary and trying to make it work for everyone that you possibly can. And bandwagon jumpers. So we get a lot of those. People who really try and, take the ideas and run with it, don't quite do it in the right way for their people. It's all about them as business owners. And I find that quite sad, really. I think there's enough people out there trying to do the sort of thing we've done that will share their ideas and be open. And why wouldn't you? You try and share the benefit of your experience, whether it's good or bad, and help other people along the way. But others have tried to jump on it, and as I said, that politicising of the whole thing, and it shouldn't be done. It's a nice wish, isn't it, that we can all move to that in society, but don't try and own the thing. We've seen the trade unions trying to own it. It should be a 4-day week. Obviously, we've seen this firm overseas that are trying to badge it up as, they were the creators, so it must be theirs. It's just a movement that we can all share in as long as we all think differently and act differently and create a model that is bespoke to our business and our people. And you will only get that if you have a framework that says, I must speak to the people that work with me first. Get that dialogue out there and things can happen. You may be surprised that somebody turns around and says, I don't like this, I don't want to do it. That's fine, but at least you've had the conversation. But I don't like this side of things. As a firm, and I appreciate I'm running out of time now and some of you are falling asleep, it's important that people understand where we come from as a company, and we try and do this with our clients because, you know, they could go and deal with any firm they wanted. But if they get our values and our purpose and our vision and all those things, it is to have that servant leadership. And I serve the company, I serve my colleagues, I serve my clients and our clients. It's because we're a company that, you know, has values. We live them every day. We try and do the best we can. We do it with kindness. There's not enough kindness in the world. You all know that. You've only got to go outside the door sometimes, and it's not great. So be that person who does reach out to others and try and help. And I think show leadership, even if you're not a leader per se. It's the way you conduct your own life and try and interact with people and help them along the way. That means, you know, you're a leader in your own little space, and you can inspire others. And I think, you know, we're all on this journey. We're not here a long time, are we? So we might as well be here and have a good time and try and be good people in society and help others where we can. And those that sometimes deserve our help will certainly help, and some who don't deserve it will still help them if we can. But to be the sort of company or person that others, you know, respect and hopefully get some inspiration from. And that's all we're trying to do as a firm. We're in a very dull sector, you know, wills and trusts. It's not exciting, is it? It's not like holidays. But we try and make ourselves accessible and be a good, kind company that people want to come and either work for and with, and people who want to take our service offerings up. I'm passionate about this now. Not in terms of it's got to be the 4-day week, but in terms of we need to change and break the model, because the model is clearly not working, as I said at the beginning. There's lots of people with challenges and lots of mental health issues. And when you actually study some of these responses that people are giving, quite a lot of it is related to stress and work related. So we have a duty of care to the people that work for us, and a duty of care to people around us to do the right thing. And I hope that's what we do as a company. I hope you've enjoyed the talk. There's a few elements in there. Always open to a conversation either later or another time. Please feel free to link with us through LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all the rest of it. And it's been a real pleasure for me, because this is like, as my colleague described earlier, it's like a homecoming, because Exeter did so much for me as a person, and that's why I'm always committed to giving back. When the former MBA director gave this old man an opportunity to come and do something different, I told him, whatever happens in the future, I'll give back, whatever shape or form that takes. And I think I've stuck to that, and I'll do it as long as I can. And if it means coming to do lectures or mentoring or, you know, putting projects on or prizes, whatever it is, you know, we all need to give back, and let's not just talk about it, let's do it. And that's where we are as a firm. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.